Welcome and thanks for tuning in. If you've been tired of hearing success stories, locked away in boardrooms, bestsellers, penthouse suites, buckle up because I'm throwing the doors open and pulling up a chair for us to eavesdrop on the real journeys of people that I've met, worked with, or been inspired by in this journey we call life. From health and fitness experts to business leaders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, and even the person next door. My goal is to bring you unfiltered conversations with the people who've defied expectations or pushed back on their so-called predetermined path to build something great for themselves and for others. We're peeling back the layers on how they overcome doubts, navigate setbacks, and turn their challenges into opportunities. Each episode is a trove of unconventional wisdom, practical tips, raw inspiration. It's your backstage pass to the secrets of success. No VIP access required. Let's dive right in. So, hello and welcome to episode 6. And I am here with Phil Vaughan, owner of Phil Buys Houses Fast, a steel concrete product business he's been in forever, and also buying rental properties that's his expertise. He's from South Jersey and the greater Philadelphia area. Phil has been selling for 18 to 19 years, and a true professional, someone that I have admired for years, someone who is passionate about learning, he has a love of learning, of being better, of giving back to others, and it was the reason why I asked him to be here today. So Phil, welcome, and would love for you to just do a little bit of an introduction of who you are and your background.
It's great to be on here. So Phil Vaughan from Delran, New Jersey. And years ago, I met Radia at a Dale Carnegie event. And I was real big on all the Dale Carnegie events and the programs that they offered. It was a huge benefit in my life at the time and still is. And at that time, I was in the steel business. I started in that business at 25 years old. And now 42, have transitioned recently to the real estate business full-time, roughly 4 years ago. But when I was in the steel business, I got a hold of, Dale Carnegie programs, and it just boosted up my relationship and sales skills like crazy. So that's where we met at. And there's a lot to, unfold too in all those years.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks, Phil, again, for taking the time out, because I know how busy you are. And your story is one that's really, really inspiring. If you can just even start with maybe just your upbringing, like things were not easy for you, and your success now is absolutely incredible, and it's a lot of risk taking. So if you want to just share a little bit about your background.
Yeah, sure. There's a lot of lessons in my background, and it's a pretty odd story. Though I do hang out with a lot of people that have very similar ones, naturally. But I would say probably I want to start at, 15. Before 15, split up household. My mom had 5 boys. Couldn't keep up with this all. She had some problems. So like the supervision wasn't there. And, I was getting a lot of trouble. I was wrong. I was hanging out with the wrong people constantly, older people, and just started being a little criminal at 15 years old. And my older brothers kind of didn't go that route. They were good people. One opened up a construction business. Another guy went to college and he was an insurance adjuster in Manhattan. I felt like they got the best years, my mom. And then wear and tear started happening, and, we weren't really, me and my 2 little brothers weren't having the proper supervision. So I just got to hang out with whoever I wanted. Met a girl, her mom worked all the time, and I'm sleeping over the house. I'm 15 years old. And what's some things that can happen when you're always sleeping at the house? I get her pregnant when I'm 15 years old. We're in 9th grade. And so just from that, I had a baseball career I wanted to do. I just loved baseball. And at 15 years old, I think I was in 9th grade for a few months. I was already getting in trouble. But then when she got pregnant, my just adolescent brain couldn't handle it. And I was already smoking weed. So now I'm smoking 10 times more weed. I'm taking pills. I don't know where I'm going. I'm scared to death. I'm hanging out with these friends a lot more now. They're starting to escalate in their, troublemaking. They're selling weed. They're selling pills. And you hang out with most of the time. So that's what I start doing. I'm getting locked up in the juvenile detention center. I'm just kind of I don't know, I'm looking to cope. I don't know what it was. It was just a lot to go through getting your girlfriend pregnant in 9th grade.
So that was a turning point for you at that point.
Yeah, turning point the wrong way. Usually, just say you're 18, 19, or early 20s, you start to mature. No, I started
Yeah.
to unwind like, oh no, I'm not ready to be an adult yet. I'm
Oh
not
my God.
ready for all this responsibility yet. And let me go and have fun, maybe. And I'm
Hmm.
just thinking about that just now. Like, I never voiced that opinion. That's probably what it was. Just let me release, let me try to have fun before I have to man up and be a 15-year-old dad, you know? So don't get me wrong. Before she was pregnant, I was already on a tough projection. But when she got pregnant, everything just escalated. And I'm getting locked up in the juvenile detention center for whatever. And that happened, 4 or 5 times. And I get kicked out of school a couple months later. And I am just working odd jobs, selling weed, stealing here and there. Sometimes I'll steal a dirt bike, go sell it, whatever. And from 15 to 18 years old, I was constantly on probation or parole or house arrest at a
Mm.
6 o'clock curfew, probably 2 of those years. I was just really, really restricted on doing anything. And that's at a time where I'm trying to like have fun, I guess. I gotta be a man soon and I'm restricted at the same time. And I was sent
Yeah.
to like this reform school, and there's like alternative high schools that kids go to once they get kicked out of school or they quit.
Yep.
Somehow the state skipped me over the alternative high school and just send me to this super strict program where it's schoolwork one day, labor the next day, 10, 12 hours a day. You got to go to school on Saturdays till 3 p.m. And it was just tough. I was being like drug tested all the time. I'm still trying to like smoke weed around it because I'm looking to cope. I can't deal with reality.
Yeah.
Right? And so, the drug tests are coming up positive. They're locking me back up, etc. And that lasted till 18 years old. And I was facing, like I said in my bio, like a juvenile prison term where you can actually go to like a juvenile jail till I think you're 21 years old. So I'm 18. I violated the program that I was in. I went to court, and the judge says, Mr. Vaughn, I hear that you got your girlfriend pregnant again. And I did. I think it was like right before 18. She was pregnant again when we are both 17. And I said, I did, Your Honor. He says, my God. He's like, where's your life going? Like, how are you going to bring a second baby into this world? He's like, really getting into my business. And
Yeah.
I said, since he asked that, Roddy, I was like, is he going to have some mercy on me here? Like, why would you ask that? And you're getting ready to sentence me. So I was like, yes, Your Honor. Like, I'm really going to mature now. Like, this is it for me. This is just kid stuff I'm going through. I was stressed out. Like, I'm going to be there. I have a job set up. I'm just like fibbing. And he says, yeah, whatever, Mr. Vaughn. I don't think you're going to stop. You're on a pretty wicked projection here, and I'm letting you go of everything. And I couldn't believe it. I got goosebumps now because I remember it was in a courthouse in Mount Holly, Superior Court, and I was so restricted from 15 to 18, and for the first time, I'm going to be free of everything. And I'm still with the kid's mom, in and out. Like we're high school sweethearts, so I'm still with her. And so I walked out of that courtroom like, oh my goodness, like I am free for the first time, but I'm still
What was
hanging.
going through your head? Like, what was going through your mind?
Think of Mel Gibson from Braveheart, like freedom. Like I felt like walking out there and just screaming like freedom. No curfews, no drug tests, no probation officers coming to look for you. You know what I mean? Just all that stress was just like burned into my brain as an adolescent, and I was just free. And now I had good intentions. Like, believe it or not, like a lot of guys I was growing up with, they're selling weed, they're always hustling. Then they got into the union, they turned their lives around. So that was always the goal, and plenty of them. But I was turning 18 in like a month or two, and like a few weeks after I turned 18, I was getting a lawsuit. At that reform school, they got into a school bus accident. We all played like we were hurt that day just to get out of like 12 hours worth of labor. So we all act
Wow.
like we're hurt. We're in the hospital, wheelchair racing, blah, blah, blah. But we all got
Oh my.
lawsuits out of it. We all got lawsuits. Our parents stuck together and like we all got like a group lawsuit.
Holy
So I get all this money and I know how to make money, not professionally, if you know what I mean. And I start multiplying that money, and I'm working at the same time, and I'm trying to get into the union. You know,
What were you
I,
working? What job?
I was working as a well driller. I was working with my brother, a lot of construction jobs, things like that. I was never raised in tough neighborhoods, no inner city stuff, but they're all blue collar towns, all on like the border of the river on the Jersey side of Philadelphia, just all blue collar towns. And in those neighborhoods, like getting into the union was like becoming a lawyer. It's funny how the mindset was growing up. Like if you got into the union, you made it. So
Yeah.
my whole mindset was I'm going to work these jobs. I know a couple people in the union. I'm going to get into the union. I'll hustle some money to buy a house cash, and then I'll get into the union and I'll be done with.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the intention. I know it sounds crazy, but that's just still how a lot of people are in America, younger people. So I was doing good, and I thought I was Puff Daddy. Now I'm making more and more money. I got diamond earrings in both ears. I look like a rapper, and
I need pictures of that
oh my,
as evidence.
I had to get you over some. And I was making so much money. I said, why work? Why work? So now I'll just not work and wait to get to the union, because it's not like I have to work to get. So I'll just hustle now, and I'll just wait to get into the union. That's how my brain justified it.
Mm-hmm.
And my girlfriend and I broke up at 20. So it was 2 years. It was 18 to 20 that it was like that. And believe it or not, I know it's psychotic, but I was there for the kids. We're a great adventure, just doing all kinds of stuff, blah, blah, blah. I was there for the kids in some dysfunctional way, but I was always there. Then we broke up, and I love this girl so much. She was my high school sweetheart. 2 kids. I loved her so much, and she started seeing someone, and I don't know. There was no way to get her back, and I wasn't the best, boyfriend in my lifestyle, so I deserved it. Anyway, just I took it so hard. She was like my only girlfriend.
Well,
From 15 to she was like the only one,
like
and
heartbroken.
so like weed wasn't helping cope with it. I never really drank that much, so I was never really about that. But pills wasn't helping, and I met this girl, and she just got on heroin, and she said, "Hey, try this." I always turned it down. There's plenty of people like that, in the neighborhood. Always turned it down, and she said, "Just try this one time. It'll take the pain away." She gave me like
Oh,
it's called a mook. It was about as big as a tick. And she was like, just snort that. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. I'm not going down that road. I'm not ending up like that guy down the corner, whatever. And I did it. And it, took all the pain away, just brought me into a whole different world, and didn't do it for another week. Said, I'm not doing that. I'll just, time will heal all things, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't. Probably because, Roddy, like smoking weed just elongates problems. All that
mm-hmm.
stuff, like it never cures it. Smoking cigarettes never cures anything. Just like elongate stuff, and that's probably
Mm.
what it was. If I wasn't doing anything, I would have naturally healed much faster.
Yep.
But
Yep.
so I did it, 2 weeks later, then 2 times a week, then 5 times a week, and just got hooked on it. Got hooked on
Oh,
it,
you
and
were how old now?
I'm 20. I'm 20 years
Oh
old,
wow.
maybe like in like halfway through 20 years old. And I'd probably say within 6 months, I'm like a full drug addict, and I'm out in the streets copping. My inner circle, like the friends I was dealing with, the friends I grew up with, they kicked me out. They're like, "Yo, we can't
Yep.
have that.
Yep.
You're out." I wish they didn't, but so I had to get like with another group, more drug addict kind of guys. That judge was right. I wasn't done, and I got locked up another dozen,
Oh
and just
wow.
went through, like in my bio, just went through, the worst hell that like one can go through, like in the streets, withdrawing, just like giving your soul to
Who
the
went to
devil.
help you? No family. No. Nobody.
There
Nobody.
was there was family, but I was always getting kicked out the house, and but I had a mom and dad that was there. My mom not perfect. My dad more steady, than my mom, but so there was a lot of support there. Thank God for that. But just a lot of lonely time on the streets. Kids' mom didn't want to see me. She had her own problems at the time, also not with drugs, just with like boyfriends and blah blah blah. And so just 4 hardcore years getting locked up all the time in Camden County Jail, Burlington County Jail, losing. Finally, at 24 years old, I had a Christian background. Like my dad was a pretty steady Christian, and so he'd always talk to me about God all my life. I didn't want to hear it most of the time. And so when I went to jail, there's always like Christians there. They get
Mm-hmm.
a time to cool down. They get a time to cool down in jail. And believe it or not, like it was like some of the best church meetings in the world in
Wow.
jail. Some of the most peaceful times in the world in jail. And
Wow.
so I'd always like, hang out with those guys. And the last time someone mentioned there is a Christian inpatient program that you can go to for free deep in the farmlands of South Jersey, where it's just horses, farmlands, I'd never even seen this part of New Jersey. And so when I got out, I went there for 9 months, free will. Half the people there were stipulated or they had to go there for state reasons, whatever. I was
Hmm.
just there to, get my kids back, to be, super dad again, to get just everything back. I felt like I was never, like, I wasn't supposed to get on drugs. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't me. Everyone's so shocked. Like, they couldn't believe I did that. It wasn't me. And so I got out there at 25, Radia, and I was just a new man. I mean, you can't just with 9 months away. I mean, I'll attribute it, mostly to God. Like I found a relationship with God, and I don't want to be preachy at all. Also like coping through problems with no drugs around, no cigarettes around, just no alcohol around, just coping and living your day to day without anything. And I'm working out every day. I'm reading, and I picked up a ferocious reading habit there.
That's
You're
amazing.
not so distracted by everything, and so all of a sudden, like,
Yes.
I love reading. I'm like, what the heck? That's my fourth book in a month. Like, where's this coming from?
Who am I?
And I'm jogging all around the farm, and I'm racing people left and right. I'm like, I used to
That's
love racing kids in elementary school. I got this back now because I'm not so distracted. So I'm just working out. I'm running. I'm racing. I'm reading. I'm just being around awesome mentors, and
that's
that play,
amazing.
and just a boatload of counseling, things like that. And so but being out there in that fresh air, you know, um, did everything. And I came back, and there's just never a temptation, for a drug again. Like it was just gone.
That's
Not many people are like that, but
amazing.
it wasn't like meant for me. I have,
Hmm.
trust me, other problems. I have 9 other problems, but the drugs just, never again. Plus I knew it'll take me back to that point again where you had to go through that hell, and it's just hell.
That's incredible.
So that,
Great. Because I was going to ask, one of the things that you just said that stood out is when you said the drugs weren't for you and the cigarettes and alcohol and all that, is that you've found a place. And I think for everybody, whether it's God, whether it's books, whether it's people, family, you found ways to cope. And I think most people, addicts that I've met myself, right, who get into that because they haven't figured out a coping mechanism. And you
yeah,
found so many different healthy outlets and coping mechanisms, which most
100%.
people don't
Now, I always had problems with cigarettes or vapes on and off,
do.
but the major stuff, like, I didn't need it. And you don't even need the vapes or the cigarettes. I read a book about it one time, and it causes more, your higher blood pressure, causes more anxiety. It just,
Yes, more anxiety.
all these things are just ripoffs. Like,
Is it Alan Carr's book?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Like,
Yeah.
and you read it, and you're like, I'm the biggest idiot in the world. Like, this thing, all this no relaxation. So I think it's just like subliminal stuff that's in our mind from growing up. You think it causes rest, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
However, but yeah, it taught me how to cope, and you don't need anything. And I always thought I needed something, and that was
Was
weird.
fitness part of your life then, or was that just that was one of the outlets too, like the
What was
health
it?
and fitness?
Fitness? Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
fitness and run.
yeah. So it was more running. I didn't get into like weight training probably to like 3, 4 months in there. I'll do it like once a week, then just get lazy, because like your default is fighting you. The years of how you were is fighting you. Then I'd say halfway through is every day. But yeah, working out, running, sprinting. I mean, that's just the best high in the world. And then once you start getting in shape and you're seeing the results, and you can wear, any piece of clothing, you don't have to like hide stuff. Like, there's just a major, major freedom in that, and I mean, still, I'm always real, real hard on myself. Like, I'm still trying to get in better and better shape, but
And
I got, yeah, yeah, I got pretty toned then. And
that's great.
the fight's never over to Radia. Like, trying to critique yourself, and like,
Never.
there's still stuff I can't wear, like, this one's not right today. I'm going to wear this one, but no, but you have to replace habits. You have to replace bad habits. You just can't stop something and not fill it with anything. There's even like an awesome Bible story about that. You have to fill it up. So I filled it up with working out, running, reading, learning, being a people person, connecting with people. And then like
What
all
was
your
the first book that you read, by the way? Do
that
you
I read,
remember?
First book I read, geez, I mean, it was probably a Christian book at that time. Probably something like my dad gave me, like something. The Normal Christian Life was a real good book. So it's probably like
Okay.
Christian books are probably the first ones because he would just drop me off books. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I remember what's that real old book? I think it was written by like a football player. Everyone was reading at the time. I remember reading that there.
Yeah.
And that was just a regular, like a business book. But yeah, so I just replaced all those habits with all those things, and I really started seeing like what my gifts were. Because like
Mm,
when you have all this distraction, you have all these bad habits, like it just buries your gifts, and you have no awareness of who you are, no recollection, and so like all these things are coming out, and people are complimenting me for doing this, doing that. Like really, no one's ever complimented me in that before, and I must be good at that. And you just
yeah.
start like knowing yourself more and more. So yeah, just I got out of there on fire. I didn't have a license for 2 years. Okay, I think the judge like suspended my license. Yeah, I think for 2 3 years. And after I came home, I got a job at a steel business in the back of the
Mhm.
business. And then you probably know my story where like I rose to the top of it, but I started just went in there for an interview. They said, "Hey, we're hiring in the back." In the back, they were just like bowling the steel, cutting the steel. It's just like warehouse work, and it was nothing but people from South and Central America, very nice people. And
Mm.
I was just so happy to work around you. I made a lot of
Wow.
money, and at this time, I'm 25 years old, and I'm making I think $3 an hour on the books and
Mm-hmm.
three off the books. I was just free, now real free, not getting out of that courthouse free, but real, yeah, free in and out. And I was so in debt. I was $100,000 in debt at 25 years old. Now I know a lot of college kids are in debt at 25. But a lot of my friends are doing well. They're graduating college. But I was $100,000 in debt, making 6 7 bucks an hour. I'm the only American back there, but just so grateful. And like my eyes
Yeah,
were opened up, Radia, where like the trees were brighter, the sky was brighter. I was just happy to be home. My kids weren't living with me at the time, and I just want to do everything to get them, back in my life and give them like their dream life. And I was
that's
just
amazing.
so motivated. All I did was you know, I used to run to work. I would say most days it was 3 miles away from my house. I'd run to work,
Wow.
CD player in my hand, or like tucked in my belt or something like that. A little lunch bag with a sandwich, whatever, a low sodium
Oh,
V8 and a sandwich in the bag. Running to work, just listening to Les Brown, listening to Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, whoever.
yeah, that's
And
awesome.
I mean, no one could stop me. It was like revenge time. It was, I got to
Yeah,
make it for those 3 4 years I did to myself. I dug such a deep, deep hole. I burned every bridge. I'm in debt, you know, trying to get the kids, back, things like that. And I was just grateful. So after roughly 3 4 months, my kids were living in South Philadelphia at the time with my kid's mom. And she's always a good woman. Just kids as a teenager, she was very budgeted all the time. She was living with her sister. They're in a tough Irish neighborhood, and the kid's mom called me one time, and we stayed good friends throughout this whole time. It was very good, except for hey, you're on drugs, man. Like
yeah.
you come around. Anyway, we stayed close, especially afterwards until now. But she called me up and she says, "Little Philip just got jumped, and he didn't run. He didn't run away. He's tough. He's tough." And I didn't like that, Roddy. I was like, yeah, I don't like that. Like you're like bragging about him not running. Like he shouldn't be getting jumped. So I was
Yeah.
like, I'm living in Burlington and with my dad. I said, listen, I said, I'm making some money right now. I said, I'm paying off a lot of debt, but I will pay you child support if you let the kids live with me. I said, I'll be
Wow.
their coaches on the team. I'm going to take them to
Wow.
church. I'm going to get them involved in everything. And my mom and dad, they're there to help also. So she bit on the deal. She had like a new boyfriend at the time. She was really trying to make it work, and it was super tough for her. As a single mom with 2 kids, tough for her with boyfriend. So she was like, "All right, I need a rest, Phil. So I'll take you up on that deal, but I'm coming back for him." And I was like, "Whatever." They need to come to Jersey. Oh yeah, so I'm their coach, Roddy. They're everything. They're coming to church. I'm hanging out with them every day, and I'm making more and more money a little bit. And after 6 months of working back there, I convinced the judge to give me my license back. And I told them, I said, hey, I'm going to go work for my brother now. He's a general contractor. He's waiting for me to get my license back. Like the union thing is done now, whatever. I'm going to open up my own business now, whatever. And they said,
And
Phil,
this was
listen,
for how old here?
I'm
How
still like
old?
25.
For
I'm
that.
still like 25 years old. And so I tell the bosses that I'm give them my 2 weeks, and they say, Phil, we love the way you present yourself. Like I'm back there working out all the time on breaks. They're like, who is this guy? I mean, I'm looking like rock. You know what I mean? Like I'm just so in shape. You know, I'm tan. I'm doing pull-ups on the machines. The boss are like, who's this guy? You know, and just on fire. They don't know. Yeah, I just got out of a program. I've been in jail before.
Yeah,
I have no license. You know, I
yeah.
got kicked out of high school. Yeah, so they're like, hey man, like we love the way you are. Why don't you come and sell our products? And I
Nice.
was like, Friday, I can sell some stuff professionally. I don't know about that. And it was like 100 things to sell also. It was like 100 things you had to learn. It was a whole different method. And so I did it. I dove right into it. And it took probably 6 months to a year to really get comfortable. I had to go through a lot of failing forward, a lot of stuttering my way forward. They sent me up to New York with the products. They said, New York's going through a big boom right now.
Nice.
Most of it's non-union. They're going up 80, 90 stories non-union, and we want to capitalize on this and make a name up there. So that's what I did. So I was in New York City, just pounding the streets every day for years. And so I started that same company. I took a little hiatus. I went to another company, came back after a year, and ended there at about over 330,000 hours a year was like my highest year there, like my last couple of years. And I started making $6, $7 an hour there in the back. Major key takeaways from that, just up to that steel business, was like my coping mechanisms are good. I can go through anything. I felt like I can go through hard times, like hard times in sales. I'll still have faith that God's going to do something. It's so important to have faith in yourself, Roddy. But for me, it was like there's something greater than even me, and he's pulling me forward. And it used to amaze my dad, like, hey man, like I just can't believe like you're hitting these big numbers. Like you have something that's different. You have no college education. You don't come from a family of salespeople or whatever. And plus just all this self-investing into myself, the reading, the audio, the events, the coaches that I would hire, all that stuff gave me like
Tell me a little bit about the coaches that you hired too, because that's something that's newer to me, but I know was important to you. Like what, just that because you said no college education, right? No formal. And what did that do for you to change your path and for you to take some risks? Because I know you were doing very, very well and you still took a jump. You took a leap and did something else too. So just the continued development, if you can just tell me a little bit about that too.
All right. So number one was the reading, and the audio in the car. So that's number one. So I'd always start off with that because it's basically free. You could pick up used books. You could, get stuff for free all the time. Go to the library, Zig Ziglar stuff, Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, Les Brown, all these guys. So I was always absorbed into that. And then I heard it. What was that Automobile University quote?
I think it was Brian Tracy, I think, said that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, you can have equivalent of a master's degree or a bachelor's with like 10,000 hours of learning. So I was always like making sure I was getting multiple hours in learning. And the thing is that I started seeing as I was getting a little bit older into my late 20s that these college graduates were resting on their laurels. They just thought that degree was going to like do everything for them. You still got to work. That the degree will get you into the door. And the master's degree and the PhD will get you into the door, but you still have to work. You still have to do continual education to level up, or you're gonna, have a lid on you. And I saw that, like, what are these people doing? And even now, like, I know people that have 2, 3 master's degrees acting like that's gonna make you all the money. No, you just paid all kinds of money to get that thing. Now you got to go work. And so I was like, you know what? I'm doing something the other way, and I think it's the most brilliant way. And only in America can this happen, where, I'm just going to get my own practical, degrees from very, very successful people, and then just do it. Then do it. Take the risk. Work, go the extra mile. Work a couple extra hours a day. Make the extra calls. Have a great attitude. Learn how to work very well with people. Know people. I'm going to do all these things. Then before I get into Dale Carnegie stuff, like I remember him saying that out of 100% of successful people, 85% at that time, and I think it's still very relevant today, 85% of the success is how you work with people, how you lead people, how you communicate with people, versus 15% of that was through technical stuff, engineering,
Yeah.
things like that. So it's the people. And so I
Mhm.
cracked the code that it's the people. If I can work well with people, if I can exercise my personality, know how to listen to people, hear their stories, remember their stories, connect dots, things like that. And I don't know, I
I
just
think,
connected all those dots, and I'm doing better than anyone that has $100,000 in debt and they went to Temple and got a master's degree. I have $100,000 in bad debt, and I'm doing all this reading. I'm doing better. So
well, that's exactly what you said, right? It's like the degree, if you need that degree or that education for a certain job, that's important. But the reality is, it's like the continuous learning, and just to stop and be like, I've made it, is one of the most dangerous things you could ever do.
yes, and that's not all people, but I just see it with a lot of people that they stop.
A lot.
And trust
Yeah,
me, we
sure.
need people with degrees. I'll never say don't go to college,
Yes.
because I want my
I'm a,
doctor to have a degree, and I want you to learning
my
that.
brother's a doctor. Want to make sure he's educated.
Yes, exactly. So I always tell people just go to college, because first of all, you just get your like your focus muscles built in college. Also, like when you got to do some of these tests and these projects, like you got to concentrate, and then
Yeah.
the network that you build. So I'm always big on that. But to get back to your question, half my coaches were for free. Business owners from church. They'll help you out with anything.
Nice.
People in the family, people in the neighborhood, whatever. I tried to glean as much as I could. But as I kind of like got as much as I can from them, if you don't have natural friends that are like, business owners, high productive people, you have to hire them and do it as soon as you can. It There's such a power in being around these people and having a
Yeah.
relationship. I mean, it just propels you light years
Yeah.
ahead by being around these people. They'll bring you to where they're at just so much quicker
Hmm.
than you do on your own. So I remember hiring a
Yeah.
guy for $50 a week, then
Hmm.
then another guy for X amount, $300 a month, and just
Hmm.
kept like leveling up. Then started joining mastermind groups for $1,000 a month.
Yep.
I did the John Maxwell certification thing. That was just like 5,000 for the whole year, but I would go to their events and things like that. Before I talk about like the bigger ones, the Dale Carnegie thing was everything for me, because I'm probably like 28 now. It was around the time when you started. When did you start? What age?
Yeah. Because we're very close in age, and I started when I was 27. So I
Yeah.
started in 2008.
It
Yeah.
was around that time, and I'm like a year into New York, and I'm like, I gotta level up. You have every nationality of person out there, just such a diverse mindset. I'm like, I have to
Yeah.
level up to like really make it out here. So I went there, and that was a huge personal and professional development, probably my biggest one, at the time, because I heard
You
Warren
took like
Buffett.
the flagship Dale Carnegie course in New York.
No, no, no. I took the one right there in Bordentown or Hamilton.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Yep. Yep.
No, no, I'm so sorry. That's where you guys were at the time. I took the one in
Yes.
Mount Laurel.
In
I'm
Mount
pretty
Laurel.
sure
Okay.
it was Mount
Yep.
Laurel. And
Yep.
I heard the Warren Buffett quote, and I just
Yep.
remember him saying like that was equivalent. Doing the 12-week course was equivalent to I think his master's degree. He said, because like I knew everything, but I didn't know how to relate to people. I didn't know how to give a message on camera. And so I remember hearing that, and I remember hearing my boss talk so much about it, of like the book. That was one of the first
Hmm.
books he handed me also, is How to Win Friends and Influence People. Make a long story short, I remember even I wanted to impress my boss that I did it. And then when Warren Buffett, or in other parts of the book, that it could be equivalent to a degree, I was like, since I had a deficit of education, I was like, I'll
Hmm.
do this thing. It would be like a cert on my resume. I don't have a degree,
Nice.
but I get something close to it. That's what people are saying. And our kids are living with me, paying child support. I'm paying half my money to these fines. I'm trying to eat good. That's a little expensive. All the supplements you got to order when you're working out. So like, I'm
Yeah.
really. And who was the Canadian? He was like a hockey player, the older guy.
Oh, Jim. Yeah.
Yeah,
He
is he still
retired. Jim.
there?
He retired, but he was
Yeah.
there a long time.
So it was done, and I go the first week, and I just negotiated with them. For some reason, they let me in without paying. And
Extra special person.
I
Anyone listening, that won't ever happen.
yeah, I slid in there somehow, like, hey, just hear me out. I'm going to pay a payment plan, but and
You pay your employer.
so whatever it was, I'll give them money every single week, and I was like scraping it up.
Oh my God.
So it lasted for 12 weeks.
That's
what was it?
incredible investment in yourself.
What was I going to say? A lot of people there, yeah, their company gave them money. And a couple weeks
Yeah.
in, they even went to my company like, hey, you think you can like fork up a couple bucks here? I know a lot of companies do that. The whole group here, he's like, nah, I really can't do it, man. Times are tough right now. I'm like, crap. So some of the people would miss a week or two out of the 12 weeks. When you're paying for it, you are glued there. You're not missing. Every minute, you're attentive.
Yep.
So at that place, Radia, in that 12 weeks was just such a game changer for me because we would do projects together as a team, like 4 or 5 people. And they'd say, hey, you have to finish this in an hour where it could normally take, a day. And like we
Hmm.
finished these projects and showed you the power of teamwork. And then most of all, the public speaking.
Yeah.
The public speaking, I was always winning. Then they voted me the number one, I don't know, I guess speaker. I
Well,
think
because of
there's
high school achievement.
yeah, and I couldn't believe that. I'm like, I do have something here. Now I'm like talking
Yeah.
in church and things like that. Like, and at that Faith Farm place, that 9 month place, they would make you speak, but now I'm doing it more professionally, and they'd all hand you notes on what you did well. And people say, hey, Phil, you're so funny. Hey, Phil, you have a presence up there. Hey, you're so dynamic. Like, you're pretty amazing. I'm reading these notes. I still have them, Roddy. I'm reading,
Yeah.
I'm getting like emotional. I'm like, I cannot believe they think of me like that. Like, I'm
Amazing.
thinking of me of like this crazy guy coming from all that. You always have to work on your identity all the time. And then you're
Yes.
getting it from outside people. I'm like, my God, like they think I'm like dynamic and I have such an
Hmm.
aura. I'm like, what? An aura? An aura? Yeah. So all this is raising your belief system, Radia. It's all raising.
Amazing.
And I'm like, so it gave me so much confidence. So
Amazing.
halfway through it, I had so much confidence, and I went to a sales meeting and tried selling a very, very big company, my product. And the guy was like, hey, man, big owner, humongous
Hmm.
success in Brooklyn. It's a big lumber yard. I tried selling them one of our products as a wholesale, and he wanted
Nice.
to hire me. He said, man, you're a fired up young man, aren't you? He's like, you got a presence about you. And I'm like, there goes that presence again. That's what they told me. But now I'm not so shocked because the people at Dale Carnegie already told me. And he gave me a big whopping number, to work with him. And I
Well,
turned it down. I turned it down, but I'm like, this is from Dale Carnegie. Like, I just, 2.5 times what I was making through this one offer. And
yep.
so it's done.
From you.
Yep, yep. And it's done so much, Radia, and just reading the book, all the time, and how to just work well with people. So that was like the biggest thing I did. And I'll recommend that
Wish
program.
I knew you in that. I wish I knew the year before in that program because when I had you in the sales class, I
Mhm.
just thought you were like hilarious, charismatic.
Yeah,
I still remember a quote I won't mention now that you said in class. I still remember like it was yesterday. It was
really.
hysterical.
What?
And I was like, oh, I just started crying laughing.
Yeah, I forget. I forget. Jeez.
I remember. It was
Sorry.
great. It was
But
great.
so all those things, I was taking more and more, Dale Carnegie programs, and I was reading more of Dale Carnegie's books, and just really loved him and just how his life was, how his philosophy was, and then after that, I did John Maxwell. I'm using this as my mouse pad, but read a lot of his
Yeah.
books and went to his certification, and then like when I got out of the steel business, I took a cold leap. I just wanted more freedom. I wanted to come back home from New York, Radia. Have you ever
Hmm.
read Acre of Diamonds?
No, I don't think so.
That's a killer
Favorite.
book. And
Okay, I will check that out.
so that book touched me, years ago. And it's a Philadelphia story about Temple University. Very, very good book. But that influenced me like that. There's an acre of diamonds in my backyard. I didn't have to go to New York. In New York, though, they'll accept you any color, any background, any age. Like as long as you hustle in New York, you can make it. So I thought like, because I don't have degrees, because I don't have the normal life. South Jersey's boring. Got to have a degree. Philadelphia's boring. And so I met people through a mastermind group while I was in the steel business. It was a mastermind group for real estate investors, flippers, and wholesalers. I saw
Nice.
these knuckleheads making big bucks, Roddy. And I'm
Mhm.
thinking of this one knucklehead specifically. He was,
Knucklehead. You made
he
me
was
laugh.
an odd looking human being. And I'm not saying, I'm all that or anything like that, but he was an odd man. And this guy's making millions of dollars. And I was older than him. I will eat him alive if I'm in his business. I will eat this man alive. And this very odd human was making millions of dollars. And then here's the biggest thing. I was like, what am I doing in New York? What am I doing in the steel business? Like why why am I not here sooner? And this is in my backyard, like in my local counties. And then there's other smart guys, and it's not easy really. It did end up he was very smart, but I just saw some other younger guys, older guys, and I'm like, oh my God, I can do this. I can do this. And I'm so mad that I weighed to 38, to do it. So
You needed to have the belief in yourself, though, right? Because you had it in you. It's just you didn't have the belief in yourself.
I had the belief in myself. I just didn't have the opportunity. I didn't know like who was doing it. So now it's back to that community. So I grew up hanging out with bad kids that did what they did. Now you hang out with people like this, you're going to do what they do. So like seeing the community doing it built all the faith in me in the world. It wasn't a disbelief. It was just seeing it. That's why you got to hang out with, high level people. And not that you want to be snooty or anything like that. Like still, whatever, still help people out, bring people higher. But you want to hang out with these people because like they're the way they talk, the way they think, what they're reading, the way they do business, it just
Yeah,
like crazy, and it just speeds you ahead. I saw
that
these.
was one thing. Then you inspired me too, because that was something where I was struggling, like trying to find those people that I could look up to and be around, and that's something that you do regularly.
Yes. Yep. And
Amazing.
so that was my first one. I paid $5,000 to be at this mastermind for 2 days.
So,
Now I'm making some good money from the steel business. I have a couple of rental properties, some equity, so I could do it. And but that was it. It just changed me. I'm like, oh my God. So I asked the guy, I said, hey, I heard you have an annual program where you're having this every other month for a year. He says, yeah, I think it was 25. And I said, all right, I'm in, but you got to help me get out of the steel business, man. And so he would like encourage me, like, Phil, you got it, man. I'm telling you, you got it, blah, blah. And so that's what I did. I think after like another month of that, I quit cold turkey. I had like my first real estate deal. It didn't go through right, but I thought I was making a lot more. And I quit off that deal. I made like 1/3 of what I was really supposed to make. But
man.
yeah, just left cold turkey. The boss was like, what the heck? You're making 330. You got the company car. You get to eat at any nice place in Long Island, New York, North Jersey. Like we eat the best places. We take out to Vegas every year. We stay at the Bellagio's in the suites. Like you have your book of business done. Like you can work from home 2-3 days a week now. Why? And I was just like, because I just want to go higher. I want to be local. My back hurts from traveling from Peter Luger's in Long Island back to South Jersey. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Yeah,
like,
that
but
travel time.
plus, I know I'm capped also. I know there's a cap on me. I can only make so much. And for some reason, I'm too well read. I'm like too educated. Without the degree, I'm too educated to have a cap on me. So it took 6 months to a year, Roddy, of fighting, all the new problems. I'm trying to be a new me. I'm trying to be a business owner, and I was an outside salesperson for so many years. So I had to like thaw out from that mindset. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like the
We're very nice.
hustler in me was like the enemy of my future CEO. I was just doing like hustler stuff all the time when I should be, selling, but also
Ah,
building systems and processes at the same time. And I'll tell you the truth, I'm still thawing out from being an outside
yeah,
salesperson for many years.
that's hard.
And yeah, so it was a tough year. Year two was, got better. Year three better. Year four, so here I am. It's roughly year four, and we're projected to do, 4 million this year at a 35% net profit. There's no partner involved. I have awesome people with me. It takes a toll on like your family, and there's going to be sacrifice. Like, what are you going to sacrifice for this? But the whole goal
Mm.
is to buy your time back and to live more free later on. But I don't work
That was
weekends.
your goal, right? You were
Yeah.
saying that your goal was the freedom,
Yep.
and then not having a cap.
Well, don't get me wrong. I don't ever want to mislead anyone. Like when I first got into this, everyone talks about they want to leave their 9 to 5. Well, now I'm working a 9 to 9 when I first got in.
Yeah,
I never worked in my life, but as you start getting, good people, you can kind of step back and just, be the head coach, be
yeah.
the quarterback. You don't have to be the running back, the wide receiver, the quarterback, the tight end. And so as I continue to grow, I get more and more of my time back. Yeah, it's been a pretty amazing experience. We have about 15 people, at an office right here in Delran, and right down the street from my house, right down the street from my gym, and
That's amazing.
yeah, and we still have big goals, big visions on where we're going. We like to go nationwide in this one avenue that we do, and but yeah, I mean it's all from just faith, working
Staying
hard,
the course.
reading, events, mastermind groups, being around the right people, and staying with the right people.
How many books do you think you read a year and listen, like read and listen?
God, I
Any
mean,
idea?
I posted like my library a couple times on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably 1,000 books. No, I did not read them all. I wouldn't know. You know why? When I'll say this, the last few years, I haven't even been reading that many tangible books. I was probably averaging, three a month, three a
Mm-hmm.
month for years. But when I say that, I'm listening to audio on the side. I'm the kind of
Sure.
person where there's like a success magazine in my bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm reading on my phone. If I'm
Yeah,
going,
yeah,
that's the Ross. We're going to get right there. I'm reading on
yeah.
my in the shower. I have an audiobook on, or I have YouTube
Oh
on in my shower. I'm
yeah,
standing. So like outside of the tangible books, I'm like always learning, always listening to something.
yeah. Yes.
In the gym, I'm listening. So I really can't answer that, but I'll tell you what. Last couple of years, it's probably been less books and more
Mm-hmm.
audio. Even I learned better from books, but
Yeah,
probably a lot more podcasts. Like things are changing now. Like podcasts,
they
like
are.
two people are talking. Like your learning just enhances from a book.
Yeah.
Two people going back and forth. So like a lot more podcasts, but the learning, that foundation of learning is every day. That's
It's
there.
really too. Yeah, there's some. I feel like there's some people that they may say that they don't read or they don't listen, but I feel like once you do, like I'm very much like you, like that. That's
Yeah.
like looking in the mirror. Like I'm like in the shower first thing in the morning, starting my book or podcast
Yeah.
or whatever. And there's constantly something. But when
Mhm.
you have that, I mean, there's so much knowledge now that
Yeah.
like 20, 30 years, you had to pick up a book.
Yeah. It's just
Now,
crazy. Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah. It's just
It's
crazy.
absolutely everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, for you, I mean, because your story is just incredibly inspiring, and I think there, so many things that you said, like that fear of like the 9 to 5, making that jump, making that leap was absolutely huge. Being around the right people and the continuous learning also important. What advice would you give to someone who just feels maybe stuck or they're not around the right people and they just want to be a better version of themselves? What advice would you give them?
So it's the same advice I gave my cousin who's trying to do something, and just be careful. Like this isn't for everyone. And I didn't tell you in that steel business, I was capped. That was like most of the reason why I made a move because they capped me. I was supposed to make a lot more commission, but I was capped. And this, I mean, starting this thing was so hard, I'm telling you. And I said, a sales role is a good role if you don't want to be capped. If there's room to grow, if sky's the limit, I would have enjoyed doing it. Whatever. I would have still put up in New York if the sky was the limit. So just be
Yeah,
careful first that that. Like, are you capped? Are you boxed in? If you are and you are dying to grow and you think you can, that's when you want to venture out to something like this. But this gets
absolutely.
so hard. And I tell the sales guys all the time, like, guys, if I can be in your shoes, my sales guys are making big. I have a 26-year-old. It's $28,000 this month. 26 years old.
At that age, yeah.
I'm like, you little
Right?
devils. If I could be at that age, like, forget about it. Like this is the dream job. Not that like we joke around too much, but we have fun. They
Yeah,
make big money. Our culture is amazing. So
that's
if
great.
you have a job like that, buy rental properties while you're doing something like that. Like don't. This isn't for everyone. You can work 9 to 9 and you don't make any money. A lot of business, obviously, most businesses don't make money. But go ahead,
Yeah.
Robert.
Oh well, no. What did you? Because you just said you built a great culture, and I want to hear a couple points on that. How a leader can do that, like outside of just sales, but how can a leader build a great culture? What advice would you give there?
All right. I'm not going to forget the subject I was just saying, but I just wanted to give that disclaimer first. Caring about the people, I like what Zig Ziglar said: help enough people get what they want, and you'll get
Mm-hmm.
what you want. So being more of a servant leader,
Mm-hmm.
not barking orders, not being some maniac, Seeing how if I can get these guys to make money, they're going to make the company money. Using my, people skills on them, just like really caring about them, really wanting to know what their goals are, where do you want to go, how can I help you, what are
Yeah.
some limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
um I'm talking, Roddy, in all kind of areas. Also, if someone's like stuck smoking weed or something like that, like, hey, how can we get you off that? Like, it's just going to make
Wow.
you better. It's just going to make you better. But so personal and professional, just kind of pouring into them, caring
Mhm.
about them, also being strict with them. Outside of that personal and professional stuff, and being a coach, we just have competitions. We have outings. I think the last one was, hey, you go to the Phillies game or Great Adventure, half picked Great Adventure, half picked the Phillies game.
Nice.
And just having it fun in here, but at the same time also being very accountable, to one another.
Yeah.
And it's not perfect. I have a lot of room to grow. I'm only 4 years in. Like, there's still so much for me to learn. So I have a ton of
Journey.
ideas to build that culture more, and have more fun and get everyone more money at the same time.
I love
That's
that.
some ideas, though. It's hard to get people reading. I'd love to see if we can read all the same book together every month. It's kind of hard. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I really want to double down on that. And that is my job as the CEO to, build up the culture.
Yeah, 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 absolutely.
Yep.
That's great. That's great. And just thinking, I love what you said. Like, not everyone likes to read, right? So finding what works for some people, or
Yep.
getting them to suggest something, so you're all on the same page. That's
Yep.
really important. Because it looks like it, just from what I've seen on social media, like you've built a really, really great team, and they do
Yeah,
feel connected, which is so important.
I'm trying. It's a
That's
lot easier said than done. I'm trying. It gets tough. I have such a dynamic past and education that I'm able to keep up so far. But I mean, Roddy, I'm looking at guys and hanging out with guys that have 100 people, and and they're and this for real estate. They're at 40, 50 million, which is a huge deal, and they're my age. So I'm like, I'm doing good at 15, but these guys, you know what I mean? Like, there's some
yeah,
awesome, awesome people out there, and so I'm just trying to stay around them, get ideas from them. But
that's wonderful.
just to go
That's
back,
wonderful.
just so we don't forget, I just want to give that disclaimer. Like, whatever job you're in, if there's room for growth, be content, be grateful, because the other side, the grass isn't always greener. You can get your butt kicked in quick. But
Yes.
so
So,
if there's not room for growth, I would read the books, listen to the audio, go to events, get
yeah,
ideas, and hobnob around people that are doing what you want to do.
I love
It's really so simple. Get around the people that are doing what you want to do. It's
it.
like
Hmm.
it's like how God intended it. Like when you're around them, you become them. You know,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
and get into that community. Whatever community you're part of, you become them. If you join a cult, you become,
Literally.
and just get around that community, and it makes it easier. Like it just levels you up, and you don't even know you're being leveled up. And it's
That's so,
that simple.
so true.
Yeah, and sometimes it's uncomfortable because you're the dumbest person in the room. At least you feel like that. Really, you're not. But like, you do have to go through that little discomfort. But month by month, you start, getting better and better. And that mastermind group that I went to, the first one for 5,000, and I joined his year one, I'm
Hmm.
higher than all the people that are in there. And
That's amazing.
in the first couple months, I was like, man, I know one looks weird and this other guy is this, but they just must be smarter than me. Then 4 years later, like, I'm making the most income out of all of them. So, like, don't be scared to be the dumbest guy in the room. And it's a cliche. I know, once you're the smartest person, go to another one. But, what I mean? It's true.
But it's true, right? There's like
Yeah.
there's no stopping there. I think of some of the things I've learned the most are being around like smarter, brighter, more successful people, by learning
Yep.
what they do, and just having you think differently, even if you don't agree with them, but having just being open
Yep.
and receptive to different types of people. Like, just,
Yep.
this to me is educational. Just sitting with you and just hearing like your story. I know when I was in the parking lot at Lifetime Gym and hearing you talk about all the books you read, I was like, I gotta talk. I gotta talk to Phil more.
Yep.
It's super inspiring message.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, you have an incredible story. I will definitely add like your links to social media, to LinkedIn, Facebook,
Awesome.
all that fun stuff too, so people
Awesome.
can look a little bit more and
Yeah.
find out what some of the books that you love and all that, your lists.
Yeah.
But I so appreciate the time, Phil, of like just an inspiring story. Like I knew of your story, but I didn't know the detail of it, which was really, really
Yeah.
fascinating
It's
to
only
know
one
that.
third of it.
It's only
That's
what?
one third of it. That's a little part of the story.
Literally. That's what I said to you. I'm like, we'll probably have to do a part two. And
Yeah.
that one might be like coming down to your office and doing a
Yeah.
part two
Yeah.
recording.
That'd be awesome.
But I think just so inspiring because you've dealt with so much, like everything in your past has told you you can't do this. And where you're at now is incredible, like
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. And
Yeah.
so you can make your life whatever you really choose to make it.
Yeah.
So you made a lot of
And
decisions.
hopefully I'm not being too verbose here, Radia, but advice to that person that wants to do something. I forgot to leave out something, and you just said it that reminded me, like the ability to go through all that and do it. Like number one is faith. Like even
Yeah.
in Think and Grow Rich, like faith is a huge attribute to have. So like just knowing you can do it. For me,
Yep.
Roddy, I didn't have like my own self faith. You know,
Yeah.
it was limited. So I just went to a higher faith, which was God. And like that person, if they could do it themselves, have their own faith, they have to
Mhm.
see it first, desire it, and then, read the books, things like that, get around the people. But if the faith isn't there, if you don't think you can do it, you're not, well, you're going to go as far as you could think. So,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, right. And that's I think that's also a great lesson for leaders, right? We're all leaders of other people, whether it's our peers and we don't have direct reports, but how we can influence other people. Like those people, we need to show others that we believe in them. I can't think. There's so many people in my life that believed in me, and
yeah,
I might not have believed that I could do something, but they
right,
believed in
right,
me.
I
There's
know.
that part. It's
Yes.
saying like you can do this, right? Because the opposite is saying you can't do it, you can't do it, and you already have your own voices saying you can't do it.
Yes.
Then you have others saying you can't do it,
Don't you hate
right?
that when like you see some people, you're like, man, you're so great, and you're just not doing that thing. Like I'm sure you have those friends. Like my dad should be a comedian, and then my other buddy, he should be a world renowned speaker, and he's just
Oh my
like
god,
and they won't do it, and you're just like, oh, man, like only you're born to do, you know.
I know. I have that discussion with people a lot. But they have to have at some point. You hope that you keep pouring into them and they'll believe it and do it. But
Yeah, yeah,
living their purpose. So you're living your purpose. I know I'm living my purpose. That's a
yeah,
beautiful place to be. Very blessed place to be. So
yeah. And I'm still trying to find more of a purpose. I'm sure you are also. It doesn't stop. And
always.
there's new chapters, what I mean? There's new discoveries. There's something you found out that you love doing that you didn't know before. So we're just going to keep growing and keep discovering.
Absolutely.